Welcome to another inspiring episode of Dynamic Divas. I'm Rachit, your host for the show. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with a seasoned Microsoft Dynamics 365 finance and operations technical architect with an impressive 20 years of experience and a good friend, Melandie, joining us from Melbourne, Australia. Melandie is originally from South Africa. She embarked on her journey that led her to Australia in 2016. And in Australia, she continues to make a mark in tech industry. Her dedication and expertise have earned her recognition, including the prestigious Women in ICT Award in 2021. Melandie is currently working as a Dynamics 365 F&O Technical Architect at Olympic 33. So let's delve into her story and the lessons she has learned along the way. Welcome, Melandie, to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, Rajat. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so good to have you at Dynamic Divas.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Cool. So, Melanie, let's start with a brief introduction of your journey in the world of technology and Dynamics 365. You have been into this space for more than 20 years, and you have worked in multiple countries. Like you have worked in South Africa, and then you have worked in Australia. So,
Yes.
please tell us about your journey and how have you been keeping that passion alive of excellence in whatever you do.
Okay, I'll go a little bit further back. So yeah, as you said, I'm from South Africa, and I finished year 12 in a small big town in the north called Polokwane. And I remember there was like a handful of girls in my computer studies class. And I don't know why this was so traumatizing, but I said to my mom, I just never want to work with computers. But despite that, and with some coercion from her, I signed up for a degree at the University of Pretoria called multimedia. And at the time, it was quite a new degree because we were trying to sort of bridge the gap between art and computer science. So it was very much focused on art and very much focused on computer studies. And what I learned very quickly was that art is subjective and that my skin just isn't thick enough. And I found solace in computer science because the answer is the answer, not just someone's perspective of the answer, I guess. So I started off, and one of the roles that sort of encompassed it was I started off as a web developer, which sort of brought these two worlds together.
Yeah.
um, and I remember quite early on, and I always tell this story because it was such a canon moment in my life. I We had just gotten married and we bought the house, and I was trying to like be this career person but also be this like domestic woman, and I just sucked. I ruined a whole bunch of ironing. I flooded the laundry, and I think the nail in the coffin moment was when I cleaned our brand new wooden bed with oven cleaner and not multi cleaner. And my husband just like looked at me and he was like, babe, maybe just focus on your career.
Yeah, because you were thinking about code while doing that. You were running some algorithms in your mind.
And so at work, I was working for this courier company, and they noted my computer science background, and they were like, "Do you think you'd want to get involved with our new ERP system, Exapta 3.0?" And I was like, "Well, it's not housework, so sure." But yeah, no, I joke about it, but that is really like sort of the timeline. And yeah, and there was nothing ratchet. You and Rachel were talking about it the other day. Early days of Exapta, there was no
Yeah.
resources, there were nothing. So I learned most of what I know about the system through debugging, finding stuff in the AOT that I could maybe use, and sort of reverse engineering it and repurposing. And what was really sort of interesting about this was there wasn't really a lot of opportunities either because it was such a new product. But Microsoft had just bought it, and as they expanded their footprint, that kind of brought all the opportunities to light for me. And it's one of these opportunities that got me the job in Australia, which is where I met you. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall, for the specific role, we had to complete this technical test where.
Yes. I went through that drilling. Yeah.
And I remember a while after coming across and having a chat to our manager at the time, he made this comment, which I thought was really a powerful comment and something that I only took note of then, which I feel like is really important, which I think is important to share, is that he said it wasn't just the technical test, but it was also my attitude and my positivity and approach to in my engagement with him. And I thought it was really, really important because it's not just about your technical muscle. It is about the relationships you build, the connections you make, how you show up in a professional capacity and engage with the people. And I mean, I wouldn't be here talking to you today if I hadn't made that connection with you, like it all kind of builds on that. So I feel like that's a really, really important takeaway from my own personal journey. It is, say yes to the opportunities that some people would say no to. And then when you show up in a positive way and, embrace the opportunity for growth. And I kind of stand by that because most of the opportunities that I have been presented with in the later part of my career has been because of the connections I've made and the trust relationships I've built with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started off as a dev, just churning out code, and it's sort of as the system has changed over time, you kind of learn it a bit more, and your domain knowledge as well as your technical knowledge is where you kind of get into the architecting of things. So that sort of emotional and sort of technical sort of journey to where I got to today.
I love that perspective, Melandie, because you have touched on few very interesting points. That when it was version 3.0 or 4.0, there was not enough help available, and we learned a lot of things by debugging the product. And I remember there were days in my early career that we used to just debug a process for hours and hours just to understand how it's working, and that
Yes.
really helped us to understand the core of the system. And that is one of the advice I give to a lot of new people, that if you are starting your career in X++ development, don't try to just copy paste the code from the blogs, but also try to debug standard processes and see how the product works, because that
Understanding.
really clears a lot of things. And then you talked about that test, and I it's totally relate to that. It was not only about writing code and how good code you can write, but it was also about how do you approach for a problem solving and what type of questions you ask and how do you deal with that situation. So I think these are very important aspects for any ERP professional, not just technical or functional, but whatever we do is we are at the end of the day dealing with a business process, and something which we
Yeah.
do is adding a value to optimize something for a company.
Yeah. And I think it's about, like, even just through debugging and learning, I think like we learn to think creatively about problems, and that is why we started to ask the questions, and it sort of drove the way that the early devs, I think, developed and approached problems,
Right.
technical problems, and
Yeah.
it's something I still use today.
No, you said right. So because Microsoft has invested so much in this platform and they have created so many new frameworks, we are always on this learning journey. And it's not that once we know how this framework works, we are an expert, because there is something new, a new tool is out, we have to learn it and start using it in our solutions. Tell us something about the Women in ICT Award, which you were recognized with in 2021. So, how was that experience of
Oh my
getting that
god,
recognition? Yeah.
I was oh my god, I was reflecting on that earlier, and I was thinking about how some of the challenges we face as women is like one that's really real for us and for me every day, is imposter syndrome. And what happened was I was working on this project. We were working with really new innovative tech that Microsoft had brought out, and your work as a programmer or developer behind the scenes, sort of architecting everything, and you're not really front of house, right? Like you're working with other technical people. And when they called me and said, we're nominating you for this award, I was like, are you sure? Me? Like, I was like, because, and I felt like I almost wanted to rattle off a list of why they shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, and it was so bizarre because I didn't I really didn't even imagine that I could be entered or nominated for an award like that. And then I went on and won the award, right? So that was like, my mind was blown. Like, it was such a lovely moment. Like, again, like, we work behind the scenes, we sit behind our computers, we're not necessarily engaging with, you know, people like other sorts of people. You know, it's very much a technical group.
Yeah.
It's almost like you do it for the job that is challenging, the problem solving. Like, you get your satisfaction out from resolving problems and, you know, making life easier. But what was really pivotal and such an important takeaway from that was that never underestimate that the work that you're doing, even though it's in the background as a technical person, you are affecting positive change in organizations which are filled with people who you've just made their lives easier. You know, like,
Yeah.
you're definitely behind the scenes, but you're not, the job you're doing and the role you're playing is quite impactful. And it almost like the first time in my career that I sort of connected those dots. I always just thought about how to solve this problem creatively, but then that's the first time I really realized what the impact was and what it meant to people. And then I was really humbled by the fact that they would actually consider nominating me, because I was like, it's not the kind of thing you celebrate, right? Like, it's just writing code. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, like such a deep thought, because as you said, we are always behind computers and we don't really sometimes realize the value we are adding to an organization. And then when you get recognized for the work you are doing at such an event, it really feels great. Yeah.
yeah, I
I
mean,
saw
we
your
don't do
winning
it for the
speech.
glory, right? We do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said you saw?
I saw your winning speech. It made some waves in Dynamics community, because that's someone we know and we have worked with, and I was really happy to see you winning that award. So congratulations once again. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was such a good moment. It's been like a couple of years. I mean, like, it's the technology we were using at the time is like, it's like tried and tested. It's not new anymore. So, but yeah, it was wonderful, and it was a wonderful experience, and it really shaped, again, just sort of like re-emphasized the relationships you build, the work that you do, the way you show up to work. It all, you know, connects. You are making a change. You know, you
Yeah.
are affecting positive change. And I feel like, if I think about, like, a lot of people think you're just techie, but I think the bit that I really enjoy is helping people, right? So you have these conversations with people who are struggling, and then you give them something to make their lives easier.
Yeah.
And, and it's really like, at the core of it, that's kind of pivotal in what I do and why I do what I do. So
No, I think that's a great perspective, because one thing you also said about imposter syndrome and how we deal with it, because our field is like, it's always evolving and new things are coming in, and being a vendor is more challenging because the expectations
mm,
from customers are always high, and they look at you as an expert in everything, but you are also on a learning journey with the new tools.
yeah,
So sometimes you go into a room and you have to carry that feeling inside you that, oh, I am an expert in this field, but in your heart, you know, I'm still learning it. So
yeah,
how?
and
Yeah.
I think it's like, I mean, every day it's not something that goes away, but I mean, and like, don't, I'm going to say this, and I want people to sort of just take it within the context. Like, what we do is, you know, it's a growth mindset, and you've got to know. I always tell myself, I'm trying to be kind to myself, and I say, it's not I don't know, it's I don't know yet. You can tell I'm a mum, right? Like, these are the
Yeah.
conversations I have with them. Um, and and I mean, especially in like agile product development, like, you've got to move fast with the change. You've got to fail fast. You've got to be open to the learnings you make from making errors, or, you know, understanding that something's not working, and just sort of change and follow another path and continue on that continuous learning growth path.
Yeah.
It is a mindset, and it's one where you've always you almost have to have kind conversations with yourself when you sit with these feelings, because it's more about your ability and your trust in yourself to know that you will figure it out. It's just, you've just got to go and find the information and piece it together, and you will. Like, that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years. That's day by day, day in, day out. That's what we do. So um, I hope that makes sense.
No, that is a fascinating perspective, Melandie, because sometimes we don't realize like the power of uh, giving some confidence to yourself, like talking
Mm.
positive to yourself, and then saying to yourself that yes, okay, even if I don't know, I don't know it yet. That
Yeah.
brings some direction, and that gives you a bit of confidence that yes, you can do it, and yes, have a growth mindset, always open for learning. That
Yeah.
that keeps us driving in the industry.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's not like the industry we're in is going to stop changing and just sort of become complacent because we're we're not in the mood to learn anymore. Like, it's not
Right.
the kind of industry we're in. So
That's never gonna happen, yeah.
exactly.
True. True. So let's talk something about AI. So as you must have seen Microsoft has partnered with OpenAI and copilots are everywhere. So how is it impacting your day-to-day job, and what are you working on in this space?
Oh, well, I've started to use it in a couple of things. I do use it to write a lot of T-SQL. Like, I write some heavy queries. Like, I'm just like,
Yeah,
there used to be a time where I had to like Google the syntax and sort of put it together. And now I'm just like, hey, AI, I want to do this and this and this. And it turns out something. And I'm like,
yeah,
that doesn't really
yeah,
work. And it's like, apologies. It's so kind and it's so polite. It's like, I'm sorry. Here's the correct thing. And then it works, right? Like, it's like, it's really nice. I
yeah,
do that a bit. Sometimes when I know I'm going to use .NET code in my X++ code, I will say, hey, how are we going to do this? And then
yeah,
it gives me, it's just like it's just like finding the answer in a different way, but and doing a lot of the work for you. I think, like, the syntax and everything. And then one of the more, I suppose, relevant use cases for our work is unit tests, like popping it in there saying,
yeah.
hey, I'm writing unit tests in X++. Here's my method. And it just pops out a lovely unit test. Like, that's just amazing. Um, I also, and I'll just like throw this in there for a fun little tidbit. I also used AI and am using it. Just I used it for a recent trip to Japan where I put in all the places I wanted to see, and I said,
Yeah.
this is my itinerary. This is when I'm going. Please group them by proximity and train lines to get me through the 10 days to make sure I see everything. so,
Oh,
so yeah,
that's
so I,
amazing.
I
Yeah, yeah.
so tip, if you want to plan a trip, use AI.
How was the result? Did you end up using the itinerary suggested by
I,
AI?
I did, but I didn't make it everywhere. I think I got about 2/3 through everything. Like, there just wasn't enough time in the day, and like we had the kids with us, so that as much as
Yes.
AI can help, it can't motivate the kids to walk that additional 20,000 steps.
True. Yeah, with kids you need to take it easy because yeah, they get tired and then they need
Yeah,
some time to rest up.
sustenance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
How
was
was
still a
Japan,
good.
by the way?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It is so cool. I would recommend it to anyone. We took the children to Disneyland, which was amazing. It's just such a place filled with joy. Like, everyone was just happy for 3 days. And then as soon as we got out of there, we were all grumpy. We were like, but it was great.
Wow. No, I've heard really great things about Japan and its culture. And if you are saying that if you were there and you were happy, and then the moment you come out, you then are back to the crazy world. So yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
it's on my
so
list. Let's see.
definitely go. I would really recommend it. It's an
Right.
experience of a lifetime.
Cool. So, tell me, Melandie, what tips will you give to someone who wants to learn Dynamics 365 finance and operation? And if someone wants to start their career in this space, then please share some tips from your side on how people can learn and upskill.
So I want to sort of focus on a different perspective where some of the most amazing women I have worked with. So I read somewhere, right? Like I'll start off by saying, I'll preface that most women end up in a career in technology sort of accidentally. And it sort of ties back to when I was in high school, where there was only like a handful of girls in the computer science class, and similar to when we were doing like our degrees. But again, some of the most incredible women I've worked with in technology didn't have a background in computer science, or they had degrees in music or arts or history. And one of the best business analysts I've ever worked with in my entire life has a background in marketing. And it's almost like the way, her ability to understand what people really meant in workshops, like sifting through the emotional talk and really getting to the core of the problem. The backgrounds was completely non-stereotypical technology backgrounds, but their skill sets were so valuable. The creative thinking, around like someone with a music or arts degree, they're like masters in their industries. They're ahead of everyone. And I feel like that is a really important piece to know about yourself if you are a woman wanting to consider a career in technology. If you are pursuing your passion and you happen to get an opportunity into technology, don't say no because you're not techie. Go for it, because I think diversity in backgrounds, gender, education, the diversity is what makes it work. It's different perspectives, like I said, of the same problem. It just brings a unique and different way to solving problems and seeing things in a different way. I feel like that's a really important thing. Like, just don't be dissuaded from a career in technology because you don't feel like you're techie. But if you do want to do something more techie and code-wise, like me or you, like our career choice in terms of technology, I would recommend do the certifications, spend the time, go through the learnings that Microsoft has. And Microsoft's always been pretty good in terms of putting out learnings for us and doing certifications in a way. And the more it's progressed, it's become more and more accessible. But there are really good pieces of information in there. There's good learnings. They make it easy for you to spin up a VM. Like, they really give you all the tools. Just spend the time and really go through it in detail. And then there are graduate programs I think you can sign up for. Just find the opportunity. I feel like, especially early on in your career, if you're showing up saying, this is what I want to do, these are the things that I've done up until this point, and I see you have this graduate program, people will, especially if you're a girl, I feel like you would be welcomed into the industry. Like, I feel like no matter who you are, like, if that's what you want to do, commit to doing those things. And because there is a lot of resources now. It's not like when we started up, there was nothing. Yeah. And also join the communities. I would recommend that. There are a lot of people out there who want to share their knowledge with you and want to help. I think as a rule, people in the community are nice and want to help, sort of like-minded individuals who like helping people.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. And especially if you just go to meetup.com, search local groups in Melbourne, you'll find many groups. And there are in-person events which happen where you can register, and it's all free knowledge sharing sessions. So it also helps you to build your professional network by participating in these type of events. Yeah.
It's the connections again, right? It's making those connections with people. It's all kind of comes back to that. Get the skills, but make the connections and go on a journey.
No, great. Thanks for sharing that perspective, Melandie. This is really helpful. So we are coming towards the end of the show. So any final closing remarks from you, and then I'll close out. Yeah.
I feel like if I had to sort of leave here with one thought, in my own sort of life and career, I realized that And I heard this the other day, so it's not my own thinking. Like, I just thought it rang really true for my own personal experience. And remember, this is in the context of career choices and opportunities. I feel like a lot of people worry about making the wrong decision, but I feel like it's more about making the decision good. Make the decision
Yeah.
and then make sure the decision is good. It's all up to you. You have a lot of power in your own journey in your life, and it's ultimately you choose the path and you can make that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's very well said, because sometimes people spend too much time just overthinking and not making decision. And that basically
Yes,
kills the whole creative side of you, because if you just keep on thinking and you just want to make hit the bullseye in one shot, then it makes it more difficult. So
exactly. So
stay
yeah,
curious, stay creative, learn, make decisions for yourself, and keep moving. Yeah, totally agree.
exactly.
Yeah.
And no matter what, just make it a good decision. Like, just spend more time on it. It'll work out. I told you, I'm an optimist. So a yes person, optimist, winning
Yes.
attitude.
No, definitely, and your winning attitude has taken you so far in the career, and all the achievements you have done is definitely adding a lot of value to your profile. So yeah,
Thanks, right.
I'm sure you're. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thanks
Okay.
for saying
All right. So Melandie, I'm sure your story will undoubtedly inspire many of the other women to pursue their dreams in the world of technology. And as we conclude this conversation with Melandie, we are reminded of the incredible impact women are making in the field of tech industry. So thank you, Melandie, once again for sharing your insights and experience with us. And stay tuned and hit the like button, leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.